There's this story from the Buddha's time that I like a lot that I want to share with you. In the Buddha's time, there was this group of monks, and they were his students, and they went into a forest at night to meditate this one time. And they started to hear weird noises, like you do if you go to the forest. Sometimes you start to hear weird noises, right? People have been camping, we know. And so they started to hear weird noises, and one of the monks said to the others, like, I think there's ghosts. I think the forest is haunted. And so they all got scared, and they left the forest. And they go to the Buddha, and they say, hey, we can't meditate in this forest. We shouldn't go there at all. It's haunted. There's ghosts, okay? So the Buddha, he thinks about it for a minute, and he gives them this teaching. He teaches them a practice and a teaching about opening your heart, about increasing your love and compassion, about cultivating warm, positive feelings. So that's the teaching he gives them. And we call it metta. Metta is what we call it, but you don't need to know that for this story. So he tells them, you go back to the scary forest and you practice this. Practice opening your heart. Practice generating love and compassion inside yourself. And the monks, they think that's kind of weird, but they believe in the Buddha, so they go to the forest and they do that. Okay? So they do this, what we call metta practice, and they work on increasing their open hearts. And ghosts don't bother them. Nothing happens. They're able to meditate in that scary forest just fine. Nothing happens. And there's probably many interpretations of that story, but there's two that I want to address here. One interpretation of that story is that the ghosts saw how loving these monks were and decided not to bother them. That's not the interpretation I like, though. The one I like is that there were no ghosts. There were no ghosts. And the Buddha gave these monks this teaching that filled them with so much love. They had to spend so much mental energy on love and compassion that they didn't have room in their brains to imagine problems that weren't there, to imagine ghosts. Okay? It's sort of like there's this dieting method I've heard about where you don't stop eating anything, you just eat a bunch of vegetables, and that makes you too full to have some of the bad stuff. And I kind of like that. But it's sort of like that. So what's that mean for us? Well, can we fill our hearts and minds with so much love and compassion that we don't have room for the nonsense? So we don't have room to make up problems that aren't there? So we don't have room for unnecessary anxiety, unnecessary fears, and we don't have room for our selfishness that gets in our way sometimes, right? Can we have so much love and compassion so we don't have room for the bad stuff? And I think we can. So that's why I do metta practice, and I like thinking about opening my heart to more people and just trying to be loving and compassionate all the time. And it's hard. Of course, we falter and we struggle, but it's a way to live your life. It's the practice that takes the open heart as the path to awakening. All right? Thank you, and I love you all.